So I'm glad to be I'm glad to be back here in Florida. So a lot of you, if you were at the town hall last night, you probably heard that I grew up here, right here in Central Florida. The Marine Corps took me out to the West Coast, and I met my wife out there, and that's good enough for me to stay. So yeah, I live in Washington State, and it's a beautiful state. It rains a lot, and I showed up at a town hall in August, of course. There was about 3,000 people there that night, and I didn't expect I would get called. I figured there was no chance. They called 38, and they called number 191 for some reason. So, and I think that there was probably a point there, there was a purpose there for that number being called that night. I don't think it was by accident. I got up there and I didn't have anything planned to say. I didn't have notes ahead of time. I actually borrowed a piece of paper from someone in the audience, and she had liberal talking points on one side of the paper. So they were printed out from the internet, these planned liberal talking points. So she probably wouldn't have gave me that paper if she knew what I was going to do. Yeah, I had 2 minutes, so I grabbed a pen and started jotting down these notes, and this is what I'm going to say up there. And so they were really quick, just bullet points, and got up there at the mic, and I gave the congressman what I believe is our message for him. And the congressman, this is consequently the congressman that I'm going to challenge in 2010. So. Yeah, it was an exciting night. We got a pretty good reception afterwards, and I took the video. I didn't know how YouTube worked. I had never used it before. And I figured, okay, I'll tell some people how to find the website address, and they can go. My friends and family will be inspired to go out and do this kind of thing themselves. Put it on there, gave a couple people the way to get there, and some of my relatives. And 24 hours later, Fox News was on the phone. And I still don't know how they got my number. I'm not sure how they got that. I asked them, and they said, this is what we do.
There's spies everywhere.
Yes, I know. Yeah, but they, I was in the conservative, I guess, phone book or something.
Yeah, on cable everything.
Right. So so from there, so a little background on me though. This wasn't my first experience in politics at all. So as you can probably imagine, I actually grew up, I was pretty politically active when I grew up. I was here, when I was growing up locally, I lived in Castleberry. And outside the polling office, I can remember I was 9 years old. And I had a Bush Senior. I had made my own sign out of cardboard. And my dad didn't know what I was doing. He was a cop at the time, and he probably wouldn't have approved because his buddies are going to see this, his 9-year-old son on the side of the road with a sign. But I think my mom knew. She just didn't say anything. But I went out there, I built the sign, and I was out there, holding it up. I was already listening at that age. My mom was wise enough to leave Rush Limbaugh on for me. And, so I was already, I wasn't a young skullful of mush at that age, but I was already starting to learn those things. I was really politically active. When I was in college, I worked on a lot of campaigns. I was captain of the College Republicans. I was on the marksmanship club where we successfully got 22 rifles into our school, which the administration wasn't happy about, but we made that happen. So we had actually a marksmanship team. I worked on a lot of political campaigns. A lot of them were in California. And I worked on the successful recall of Governor Gray Davis from California. Yes, that was exciting. So a lot of you, if you don't know Gray Davis, he was the one that was selling positions, or he was selling government contracts that the state of California had, and to access him, you had to give a campaign contribution, and that included the Boy Scouts who were denied speaking with him in the governor's office because they wouldn't contribute to his campaign. So we got that guy out of there. And so it's not something that's new to me, but it's something that I always saw myself as someone who, when I did stuff for the Republican Party, I went out to the precincts and I fired up the groups that were going to go out and do things. I wasn't the candidate, and a lot of times it's hard if you're a real conservative to be the candidate, because to get the blessing of the party, often they want someone who's going to run more moderate, because a lot of the people in the party, as we know, they look at people who, if you're more of a moderate, they say you have a better chance. And I disagree with them, but that's a lot of their position. I believe what Ronald Reagan said. And Ronald Reagan said that we need to have a strong Republican Party, but that party needs to be a conservative party. We have to give the people another option. We need to show them how we're different from the other party. And if we do that, if we can inspire them, we find out that, and if you talk to Americans, you'll find out the majority of them are conservative. When you get down to it and you start having conversations with them, you see that they don't realize it. They say they're moderate. But when you talk to them about the positions, that you find out really quickly, they're conservative. And if we can have a conservative voice out there like Patricia, and what I'm trying to do in my campaign is to tell them, I'm a conservative, and here's why. Here's why you are a conservative too. This is what we believe. This is the American, this is American ideals. Freedom, liberty. This is something that's very unique to us. It's something that we have done. We've been that shining light in the world that's done these things. And I think the American people, they still have that fire. It's still there. We just need to show them the way, and we're kind of that light. We pull them in that direction. That's our job. That's what we do here. So, and I'm really excited to run. When I got called up that night, I got so much support. When I had all of these, I put it online first just to see how people react to it. I was getting so many people telling me, you should run, you should run, you should run. And so I put it out there, and within a couple weeks, I had 300 volunteers without even trying to get them. And that kind of told me that if I can get that kind of grassroots support, that Brian Baird, the person I'm running against, the way he keeps getting elected is money. It's 100% money. If you look at where his campaign contributions come from, this is all PAC special interest money. And if you look at the government contracts that people receive and those kind of things, the bills he passes, it's the same groups, of course, that are financing his campaign that are receiving this money. We all know how this works here. So that's why no one's been able to challenge him in a split district that I live in, is because he just outruns them, outfinances them every single time. But because of this grassroots support, all of his financing and all of his special interest money won't matter when I have hundreds of people out there ready to knock on doors, ready to fight for our beliefs, ready to make this stuff happen. That's why we're going to win this election. And that's why 2010, there's going to be a lot of people in our government that are really shocked at the results, in my opinion. We've never seen something get this fired up. At least I haven't in my lifetime. All these tea parties and the town halls. I just got back. Wyoming, a small town in Wyoming, had me out there for a 9/12 meeting last weekend. And that's one of the things about my campaign is I'm traveling everywhere. And because when I vote in Congress, it's not just the people of Washington that I'm affecting. I'm affecting this entire country. And because of that, I'm going to go all over this country. And one of my big things, the first thing when I am in Congress, if I ever see a piece of legislation, when it hits my desk the first time, my first question is, what does the Constitution say? And then for next action will be dictated by the answer to that question. After that question is answered, then I can look at the legislation and say, is this something we can afford? Is this something that's the right thing to do? Is this something that the federal government should be doing? But once the constitutional question is answered first, that's the very first question. And that's something that I think that a lot of people in our government need to be reminded of, that that's their obligation. When you swear that oath, and I said that at that speech, a lot of you heard it, is that you swore an oath. You gave us your word of honor that you were going to do this and that you were going to uphold that Constitution. And it's not acceptable for those congressmen who swore that oath to then turn around and do something that completely contradicts their sworn oath that they just said. Because if they do, then quite frankly, we shouldn't believe anything else that comes out of their mouth from that point forward. There's no reason to. And and a lot of people accept this. They say, well, they're a congressman, that's what they do. We get in that mentality of saying, well, we don't expect them to be honest because they're a congressman. But that's not, you expect your neighbor to be honest when he deals with you. You expect, your family, your wife, your spouse, your children, you expect them to be honest with you. So why the person that you're paying a ridiculous sum of, $174,000 a year, you're paying him, and he answers to you. That's your employee. It's not. We have this attitude of a lot of times I think we get this mentality of the government. We answer them, and they kind of push that on us that we answer them. But we need to remind them that we don't answer to you. You answer to us. You work for us, the American people, and you're going to do what we do. Well, I thank you all for, and my wife Megan's back here today. She has to put up with that guy that you saw in the video, so that's a tough job. But yeah, I thank you all for having me out here. It's great to be back home in Florida, and I'm really enjoying this whole experience. It's an awesome thing to go around the country and meet patriots everywhere, and you find, you see the American flag everywhere you go. I show up at airports, and there's people waving the American flag, and it's a remarkable experience. It's something that I'm definitely blessed to have this experience. I have flyers in the back where you can sign up if you want to keep contact with me. They're not. I learned that don't check your official campaign material when you fly on the airline. That's a lesson that I've learned. So they're kind of, I don't know if they even have my name on them, but they're back there. You'll see them on the side. Patricia's because they look nice. The ones we just printed out last night. So, but yeah, you can find them back there. And thank you for having me here. Thanks for coming out to hear me speak. And thanks to Patricia and her volunteers for organizing this. It's great. And I feel really good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.